Imagine you wake up one day and you turn into a cockroach. Listen to this story about the usefulness and uselessness of a human being. One morning, Gregor Samsa woke up to discover that his body had changed into something unrecognizable. Gregor Samsa woke up not to feel his hands or legs, but to feel claws. He had turned into an insect. Yet, everything that truly controlled Samsa's life remained exactly the same. Even after becoming an insect, Gregor was afraid of being late to work, still anxious, still burdened by the responsibility of his family. Because the real horror was not his transformation, the real horror that Gregor felt was that he had stopped living long before his body had changed. Listen to who Gregor was before he turned into an insect. He worked as a traveling salesman, a job he disliked but never escaped. Gregor woke up early, traveled endlessly, answered to strangers, and returned home only to sleep so that he could work again the next morning. Gregor carried his family's debts on his back. He supported his parents, his sister, and planned a better future for his sister Grete. In doing so, Gregor had quietly erased himself. He did not ask what he wanted from life. He only asked what was expected of him. So that morning, when he woke up as an insect, his first thought was not terror. It was the worry about missing the morning train. That single thought tells us everything. That even when his body became monstrous, his mind remained imprisoned by duty. Now listen to what follows next. When Gregor failed to leave his room, his family gathered outside the door. Oh, don't think they were worried about his pain. They were worried about his absence. If he will not go to work, how will he earn? And finally, when the door opened, what his family saw was not their son. It was the end of their security. In that moment, Gregor stopped being a family member and became a burden. His father drove Gregor back into his room because of shame, and the door was shut on Gregor the insect. Slowly, Gregor's world began to shrink. Food was pushed inside the room without care. In fact, the room where the cockroach was living now wanted to do something more, and therefore Gregor's family started searching for a tenant for that room. Furniture was removed as though erasing proof that a human life had ever existed there. Silence filled the space where conversation once lived. Yet, listen to this, Gregor never stopped thinking of his family. Even in that cockroach body of his instinct was still sacrifice. He hid himself so he would not frighten them. He suffered quietly so that his family would feel comfortable. But the last thread connecting Gregor to humanity was his sister Grete. Every evening when Grete would play the violin, something stirred inside Gregor. A moment of beauty, meaning, and belonging. Drawn by the music one evening, Gregor the cockroach moved forward, hoping just for a moment to feel human again. But instead of understanding, he was met with fear. And then came the sentence from his sister that ended everything. Grete shouted, "This cockroach no longer is my brother." Those words did not kill Gregor immediately. They simply told him that his existence was no longer required. And that is when Gregor returned to his room and he stopped eating, stopped hoping. And at one silent night when everyone was asleep, Gregor came out from his room, went on the road and died. This cockroach died quietly, invisibly, exactly the way he had lived. And the next morning, what did his family feel? They felt relief. Windows were opened, plans were made, the future seemed lighter without an insect in the family. Life moved on quickly once that burden was gone. And this is where Franz Kafka, the writer of this story, leaves us. Not with grief, but with discomfort. Because this story is not about being an insect, becoming an insect. It is about what happens when love depends on usefulness. This story was inspired by Franz Kafka's story, The Metamorphosis. And now, do you want to know about the writer? You should. Listen. Franz Kafka was a German-speaking writer born in Prague in what now is called Czech Republic. By profession, he was a lawyer and an insurance officer, a man rather trapped himself in routines that he disliked, just like Gregor Samsa. Kafka wrote about alienation, duty, fear, and the quiet, crushing weight of expectations. When he wrote this story, from what I have picked up apart, The Metamorphosis in 1915, Franz Kafka was not imagining a monster. He was describing the modern individual human being himself. Useful when productive, invisible when not. And that is why this story still hurts in 2026. Because sometimes we do not become invisible when we change. We rather become invisible when being human is no longer enough. Oh. For more tales, and in fact for more positive tales also, listen to Tell a Tale with Heena. Bye.